Alrighty, welcome back to the podcast. And first and foremost, I just want to say I recognize that my audio is not as good as it could be. We're having difficulty with StreamYard, something on the StreamYard end of things, because elsewhere it sounds fine. So with that being said, great podcast coming up. We got Troy in the house. This is actually all of our first time meeting. Like online, but we've been trading in the Black Shirt Club for quite a while, and Troy's always been someone that I've watched closely. I've always liked your entries, liked what you were doing, and overall just would love to chat to you for a little bit, Troy. So with that all being said, give us a little info just about your lifestyle and then how trading fits into your day-to-day life.
Yeah, no, hi, thanks for having me on. Yeah, like you said, I've first time meeting you all, but I've probably chatted every single day for who knows how long. I've joined the Black Shirt Club around Thanksgiving of last year. Did that for a few months, and then now whatever the next, I haven't left it yet. So, but yeah, no. So I currently live in Colorado. I moved here around COVID time. My whole adulthood, I guess, after college was spent in Oklahoma City. I'm a geologist. I work for oil and gas companies. And so living out there during COVID time, we went through a round of layoffs, and my wife and I are pretty outdoorsy. We've always either went to New Mexico, Colorado area. So we jumped over here and I bought a coffee shop is why we moved here. We were in New Mexico for a little bit. My wife's a nurse practitioner. She now owns her own medical company up here, but I didn't really know what I was doing. And I go back and look at this, and I always thought to myself, you ever have this big regret? So when I left the company, I was very, very fortunate that I got a big severance package. Mm-hmm. And so I had a lot of cash sitting in an account, and I'm really glad I didn't know trading at the time. And I always think about that going, man, I had this, 6-figure paycheck just sitting there. And if I would have been knowing how to trade during COVID while I'm living out in the middle of New Mexico, we were kind of by Taos, Santa Fe, just out in the middle of the mountains, not being able to go anywhere because it was a super lockdown time. And so I wasn't doing much, just taking my dirt bike out by myself for a while, not working, not doing anything. And I always go back, man, I could have used that money. I had a personal account, and I'm so glad I didn't, because it would have been all gone by now. I know it would have. I know it definitely would have. And so I've always asked I think about that often going, you probably wouldn't have bought that dumb coffee shop and wasted a couple of years. Well, I won't say a waste, but it wasn't a fun experience. And you could have just jumped into this trading thing, and look how far you would have been along. And I go back and go, yeah, well, I lived off that money for a while, and I probably would have been scrounging at that point and doing something completely different. But yeah, I had that shop for a couple of years here in Colorado Springs. I've never owned a restaurant. I had that money, and it was fairly cheap. It was kind of on the up and up of COVID, I'd say. It was like post-vaccines, they were opening back up. So I'm thinking, all right, it's pretty cheap. I can do this as kind of a passive income. It's kind of how it was sold to me. It's this old cafe that's been around forever, no marketing needed. And tried that for a little bit, and then I didn't want to do it. So I jumped back into the geology world and got a job that way. But going back to the trading thing, was that couple of years was the first time in my, after college adulthood career that I had freedom. That was the first time that if I didn't need to be in the shop and it was covered, I could go do what I want when I wanted. The whole point of moving out to Colorado. So if it was a beautiful day on a Tuesday and the river's flowing, I'm going to go do some fly fishing. If it was on Wednesday and a beautiful dump out in the mountains, I'm going to go snowboard in the winter, and I could do that kind of stuff. And I really loved that. But at the time, it wasn't what I wanted. I've always done geology. A position popped up here, so I took that instead, sold the shop, and now I'm back in this 9-to-5 grind. And, well, I guess I can announce it to you guys. I've told most of my friends I'm expecting my first kid in March.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It's a little boy. We were at the doctor's this morning. Everything's good. We were just getting our normal checkup, but at the time we didn't have any kids, and we just started talking about it. And I'm thinking, God, if we're going to do this thing, I can't see myself driving. It's about 45 minutes each way to my office, and doing that. My wife owns her business, which is also very, good for her to have freedom. And that's really what I wanted. And what could I do with that and have a business? And after I've already went through having employees, what's a business I could have that I couldn't have employees and make money and have that freedom. So that is my goal, my why, whatever you call it in trading, is just for that freedom. I have a great job now on paper. If I ever leave this thing, which there's a very good possibility soon, I might do that. People will probably call me crazy, but I value that freedom and I really want that again. That's what I'm looking for. And that's what got me into this trading realm. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I feel like I have so many questions. I really do want to take the chance to ask you about your coffee shop, though. I know it has nothing to do with trading, but I've always wanted to ask, how's the profit margins in the coffee shop business?
I mean, I think 2 days ago, I probably made about as much as I did in a month in about 15 minutes trading. So
not worth it is what you're saying.
I will say it wasn't hard to run it. I'm kind of a techie person. So the most enjoyable is I had everything synced together. So we're low on milk. I could see it. I can hit a button and you can have it delivered, right? I can, at the end of the day, I hit a button and it goes to QuickBooks and just goes to my CPA. So I didn't have that kind of stuff. It's the employees. If I could have robots running it, I'd still have that shop. I always tell people, I was like, man, maybe I was just 10 years away from the Tesla robots or whatever new robot, and I could just use that, and that would have been okay. The margins were small. One didn't really have like a fire, major disaster. You want to know what the one disaster that I did have was? After I was under contract to sell it, I had 1 week left. So this was a Saturday that it happened. The following Monday was when I handed over the keys, and it was just a hand over the keys. It's yours, rename it, you do whatever. Contracts were signed, had a closing date. I had pretty much bought enough food and coffee and everything for me and for the next person that's coming in, going, all right, now I'm just in pure profits for this next week. Great. Saturday, all days. I'm driving out to the mountains. I'm finally like, oh, I could just smell the freedom of not having to get calls at 5 a.m. I can't come into work. And the reason that I sold it was I was in Breckenridge snowboarding on a lift, and a person called me at 11 a.m. and said, Troy, there's nobody here working. I said, what? So, I mean, it was a very local shop. People had my numbers. And I was going, what do you mean? They're like, there's nobody here and there's a line foreman. What do you want me to do? And fortunately, he was a regular. So you could hear him on the phone. All right, everybody, just hold on. Troy's going to try to get somebody here. Let's just hang out. He's like, Troy, I'll stay here, make sure nobody comes and robs the place. But it's kind of an older generation who kind of hung out there anyway, so I wasn't worried. But yeah, so going back to that horrible story, was right away, 1 more week left, and somebody calls and goes, Troy, every drain and sink is backing up in the shop. And I was like, what happened? They're like, I don't know. We don't know. Like the floor, it's coming up everywhere. I'm going, all right, shut it down. They're like, there is a line out the door right now. I'm like, just shut it down. There's nothing we can do. We have to have a bathroom legal. Like, just shut it down. Okay, so they shut it down. I call a plumber. My employee calls me back and goes, I think we know why that whole place is flooding. I was like, what happened? He's like, some lady just came in and asked if we got her car keys out of the toilet yet. I said, excuse me? Because some lady came back in and said, hey, I'm sorry, I feel bad, but a couple hours ago, I dropped my keys in the toilet and flushed them, and I have this little puffy ball on the end of it, and it wouldn't come back out. I didn't know what to do, so I left, and I'm just coming back, and just maybe you guys might have plumbed it out yet. And at the time, this was right before the plumber shows up, and so I'm talking to him about it. He's like, do you want me to retrieve him? I'm like, absolutely not. He's like, that's what I thought. I'm just going to do one of those pressure things and blow out all the lines. And so her keys were gone. I had to close down that shop for the day. They had to clean up. Now I had to have a person come in and do like a sanitary routine cleanup that cost thousands. And yeah,
dude, you don't even. I worked as a manager for a coffee shop in a hotel for 2 years. That's when I started trading, and I've been in the hospitality business my whole life, like almost a decade now. And what you're talking about has happened to me more times than I care to say. Like, we've had the plumbing. The worst one for us was the plumbing. Multiple days in a row was coming up through all the grates in the hotel lobby.
Oh,
so
yeah.
The whole hotel lobby smelled like soup, and this is the history of restaurant businesses, as well as like the employees. The employees are always a problem. And like, I'm going to spin this back to trading because this is where it all ties full circle. My job right now, there's this little leak in the fridge. You got to put a little pan under there that catches the leak. I told everyone how to put the pan so it catches the leak, because it doesn't just go out the spigot, it falls down the back and then drips on the floor. For days, nobody does it. Weeks, nobody does it. There's just wet towels all over the floor. And I would come in and there's 9 towels and I'm cleaning up all of this mess. And finally, I put it in like the group chat with pictures and videos and call people out. Never happens again. But like for months, weeks, I was telling people like, this is what to do. And nobody does it. And that's our competition in trading. You know, the people who just don't care about things, don't work hard, don't try hard. And that's the competition. So we just got to be better than that.
Yeah. And I could see that. Yeah. The people who are going to go a little bit of that extra oomph for the extra mile. And I totally relate that to trading. You know, as I've jumped into this, you know, and I've just talked about it a little bit with my friends and some other people who know about it. I've done a couple posts, you know, and you guys are fortunate enough to, you know, brag on me or something when I'm on ASFX TV. I'll post that. So people reached out to me, and I've had some others, even a couple coworkers that know that I trade, and they, oh yeah, I think I can do this and do that. And, you know, and a month later they're done, you know, and I'm like, if you want to do this, you're going to have to do it. This is the first time. And my wife mentioned it. It's like, you have a lot of little hobbies that you do, but I can tell it's like, it's the one thing you just don't mess with. You know, I probably should take more breaks, but I'm one of the ones, I show up to the charts every day. You know, that's who I am. It's how I am. The only reason that I wouldn't be is if I'm in a meeting or something, but even if I'm not feeling good or what, I still do it. If I'm going to trade or not, I might just buy a combine for the heck of it, but it's what I want. I want this, you know, and I've put a lot of effort in, and the Black Shirt Club, and it's been so great, you know, and having this accelerated learning period, I'd say, you know, I could sit here and try to do this by myself, you know, and I would be probably where I was month 1 of the Black Shirt Club compared to where I am now, you know, if I was trying to do this by myself, you know, months ago or almost a year ago. Right. So.
And for you, in what way do you feel like that? Is it the mental game of your understanding of trading? Is it the actual technical side of things, of like having a way you read the market and the setup? You know, like what has coaching helped you with?
Slowing down. You know, I had Evan as a coach. Very fortunately, I'm a pretty wiry guy. I you know, a little ADHD. I bounce around a lot. You know, I'm all over the place, and to me, I like that. It helps. You know, I think when I'm not a doctor, but I always feel like, you know, I've always said, you know, kids in school, everybody has ADHD until you give them something they really like and they can focus on. And this and geology has always been something now that I can lock in. You couldn't get me to sit in a chair for that long, you know, usually, but I could do it in front of charts. There's something that clicks for me. I think the Black Shirt Club, the biggest was the mental aspect of it, you know, just slowing down really. You know, when I first got into it, you know, just my little history of trading was January 1st of 2024. So last year, during that Christmas break, I do what they call ops geology. So when we're drilling horizontal wells horizontally out there, there's people steering it and trying to keep it up and down in the right rock zone. And so some of these smaller companies don't have their own geologists. So I step in and I oversee these guys. I tell them, we've mapped out where we think the rock is going, and I need you guys to try to drill into it and follow it. Well, it's a 24-hour job, and we were drilling 6 wells. And so this was almost 3 months of my life of 24/7, you know, getting phone calls middle of the night. You have to bring my laptop with me everywhere I go. You know, I can't go at restaurants, you know, hey, sorry, honey, I'll be right back, and go take a phone call and go turn on my laptop and see where we're at out in the car. Bars with my friends, watching the game, you know, having a few drinks, like, oh boy, I had a few drinks. I got a $12 million well I'm drilling right now. I'll be right back and go outside and see where we're at, you know? And so, but after that, I'm going back, something went, this is silly. You know, I need to do more. So Jason Greystone, you know, Austin had him on his podcast, and I started with him. He had a 30-day course, and he was just like, if you could do this once, an hour a day for 30 days, get through my little course, you know, that'll really, you should be able to take a live trade by then. And so for him, it was great. He taught Trading View every day. It was just basics, right? How to read a chart, you know, how to read a candle, RSI, MACD, VWAP. He just went through everything, right? This is your smorgasbord. You choose how to do this, teaching you how to journal, you know. So a lot of that initial setup was there, right? I kind of had my first little course, and then and it was Forex though. And so I started with Forex from January until about, actually, Austin was messaging me on Insta, and there was an initial message in the end of June, like June 28th, whatever, last year, me going, this was my first time on ASFX TV or whatever. My first combine that I bought, and I won this trade on it, and I was locked in. I made like $500 on this combine, and it was Power Hour when they used to do Power Hour. Yeah, that was back then. And it was Zach and him doing Power Hour, and I made this just crazy trade. I'm like, $500 in like 3 minutes? Like, wait, what? You know, and it was me YOLOing like 20 contracts or something on there. I had no idea, you know, in a combine, and going, wow. So that he had, well, I'm sorry to back up. He had Jason Greystone on and was talking about this future stuff. So that's when I was like, I'll just see what this Austin guy's about. He had a pretty good production setup. I'm really quality and things, even your guys' podcast, you know, I like it. And I was like, well, I'll just start watching this guy. And that's how it started there. Yeah.
It's so funny. I feel like your origin story is so similar to so many people we talk to. It's I took a trade, I realized how much money I could make, and then you're like hooked.
Oh, and then fast forward 3 days and blown account and YOLOing, and yeah. And so for a few months, and then I joined the Black Shirt Club and got Evan, you know, and that, you know, so full circle back, what helped me was I kind of had this pseudo understanding of how to read the charts, how to look at things, you know, VWAP trading, taking futures, you know, 101 courses, you know, Austin's, and, you know, and then once I got in there and started, you know, getting a little, I had 5 combines. I was like, all right, when I get past these combines and get 5 XFAs, that's when I'll join. And that's when I did. 3 of them instantly went away, but the next 2, Evan helped me get across and get payouts on, right? I saved 1 and got a payout. And that's when I knew it was real. Like, it hits your bank account, and he kept saying, you take that payout. And I didn't have any drawdown left. He's like, I don't care. Just take it. Take their $2,000. You'll probably blow it afterwards, but it doesn't matter. You take it. And after that, that's where the ball started rolling a little bit. Yeah.
Very neat. Christine, did you tell me you used to be a geologist?
No, but I did go to school for geology.
Yeah.
Oh,
did you really?
Yes, I did. I didn't end up finishing it. I went to school for like a few things. My first time I went to school was to become a pilot, so aeronautics. Then I went to school for geology and archaeology, and then I went to school for paralegal. And that's the only like diploma I ever finished. And then now here I am trading. So yeah, like when you said like, you know, we all have ADHD, and like until we find something that focuses us, it's like you can't like commit to it for too long of a period. And I had trouble finding that thing until I found trading. Like I'm 3 years deep now. So like, I'm pretty sure this is it. So like, I just like trading is the only thing that's kept me for a long period of time, basically.
Yeah. I'm with you. You know, the master of none is what I'll go try to get into this. I'll go into that. And I just, you know, you get to where a point like, I'm kind of bored with it. What's the next shiny object? But this really is, you know, and I can lock in, and I really enjoy it. Yeah. You know, I can relate a lot of it to kind of what I do now, in a sense, as far as seeing trends and seeing, I read squiggly lines a lot. You know, I read these squiggly lines, you know, we call them wireline logs. It's what we put in the ground and go up, and it kind of tells you, and you take a step back and you start seeing trends. That's how I know where the rock's kind of going. You know, you can do this over a large area with trading and technical analysis from the technical side. You know, I can go on that larger time frame. I can see levels a little bit, and that it clicks a little bit with me. And the fact that it's a career that you have no boss, you know, you have no employees, you have nobody to answer to, you know, that's really what I want, you know, and I can only blame myself for anything that goes on. I can't, hey, you know, I didn't make enough profit today or whatever because the customers didn't come in, or, I didn't make my profit today because some lady flushed a fur ball down my toilet. You know, this is me, and this is on me, you know, and that discipline, you know, that Black Shirt Club, and seeing all of you and your report cards and what you're thinking as well, that helped me immensely. And anytime I ever talk to anybody, I always bring up Black Shirt Club and ASFX. It's just, I can't recommend it enough. And even if it's not them, find somebody. Anybody ask what's step 1, minus just taking a step back and playing around with the actual software you're going to use, get a mentor. Why would you waste money, money and time, especially, you know, when you could really get accelerated in this game following somebody.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I just keep thinking about this whole conversation. I imagine that if I went and tried doing this, just watching YouTube videos and trying to learn on my own would be, I probably would have, and I did it in the stock markets where I lost a lot of money. And at one point it was all my savings. So when I decided to get into trading futures, it was kind of the same kind of story. I found Austin through a podcast, but I just said, I'm going to go all in on this. I'm going to get whatever subscription I need for the trading software. I'm going to do a mentorship. Like, I'm not going to try and do this on my own. And I think that's the key, is like finding that community, even finding a community, or even just finding someone else that trades and being able to, you know, be accountable to someone, I think is huge. So yeah, I do love that part. And I just love how, like, you've been here. It'll be 2 years for us basically at the end of the year, and it's coming on for a year for you. And it just shows like how truly probably interested we are in the charts and how much we love it, that this much time has gone by and we're all still sitting here having this conversation.
I know. And I feel like every day I still feel like I'm just new at this. And when you realize, I wish I had a timer for every time I was at the chart, just to know how many hours I've sat here and watched these candles move up and down. And I don't know, you know, I will say that in 2024, I watched every YouTube video. I have a stack of trading books. You know, I'm the type, I'll blow through a book if I need to, some new, you know, Chris Drysdale, I blew through it in a day. You know, I was like, ooh, new VWAP strategy, you know, And then, you know, all the YouTube videos, other people, Ross Cameron, Andrew Aziz, which I think, you know, I have all of his books. I even got his newest book. I tried to code a bot based on his, he published a paper on his trading strategy.
5-minute orb strategy. Yeah.
So I coded a bot for that and just threw his paper in and said, do this strategy. The key was he's real big on stock screeners and finding the right stock to use that strategy. Yeah. I started going down the rabbit hole. I'm like, why are you so bad? Why is my back testing so bad? And then when you realize and you start reading it, I'm like, all right, how do I get this screener to find the stocks that he wants as well? Right. So I tried that, but anyways, I read his paper and went through all of that. So everything that I've added though, and I've read, now that I'm still a VWAP trader, I just still go back to the VWAP, you know, and maybe it's not because you can't win with anything else. It's what I know right now, right? It's sticking to that system, you know, and at first I would try to do a little strategy. Interesting with you, Christine. I know you've been trying the deviation bands a little bit more, right? Chris Drysdale stuff. Just from what I've seen with my bots and back testing, it loves NQ a lot more than it does ES.
Interesting.
The way that it moves and watching it. So I've now switched over to pretty much all NQ right now.
Wow. Are you trying the deviation bands?
I'm playing with them. Yeah, a little bit. I'm using them. And the only reason I'm going to this NQ is I've gone down this bot realm a little bit. And for whatever reason, everything I've tried to code, I use the SFX style. I pretty much, my code says you can only take a trade above or below VWAP in this direction, wait for the 15-minute opening range. Unfortunately, Warren killed a couple of my XFAs because he didn't know how to handle chop. So
this is Warren. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Warren.
See, like Christine knows Warren. Like Christine's connected to Warren, and Warren's just a bot. Like,
Warren. That don't know, this is your bot. You've named him Warren, and you'll be like, you'll post in it. You'll be like, Warren took this trade, and it'll be like, great trade, Warren. Like,
I told her I had a markup yesterday. I said bad Warren because he tried to get in that long right above because he has to wait for 2 3-minute candles above and below. But now I've coded in like an efficiency ratio, like it's a rise over run. Essentially, if it's chopping too fast, too quick, you're not allowed to take a trade. If you're sitting around the 15-minute, like he didn't take one today on NQ because it hovered around the opening range too much. When it was sitting up there at the opening range, if you're at NQ on this 2-minute chart, you see where it's just kind of grouped right there. It didn't like that, so he didn't take it. But anyways, he's getting better. And but that's kind of why I switched to NQ, because of all the back testing I was trying. I could go to ES and then switch over to NQ with that same strategy with VWAPs, and the win percentages was way better.
Should I switch to NQ?
Say what?
Should I switch to NQ, people?
So what I've learned, last week was my best week probably in trading. I made almost $7,000 last week on XFAs. And so, and it was mainly Warren, but I use him more I kind of recommend a bot in a sense, because if you're going to really follow your strategy, and you don't have to have all of the, kind of stuff I've coded in, but if you're a person who says, I have to wait for this, whatever, you can just you can code a signal and say, all right, if I'm going to follow my rules and I can only wait until it's outside the 15-minute opening range and you cannot take one inside, that's a really good way to keep you disciplined.
I actually love that you just said that.
Yeah.
Because don't know if it was like a message or a conversation from someone, and she said, I've coded in a signal for my strategy.
Yep.
Because like what you're saying, and that's essentially what a bot is. It's just the bot actually takes the trade for you, right?
Yeah.
Like you can code in a signal based on all your rules and take out your fucked up brain that shows up occasionally and messes you up. And just like, it's that marker, it's that thing that says, yes, like this is where, because I put all this energy and I've told you what I want to see. And you're seeing it right now. That's so cool. I love that idea.
And so I've been messing around. So like sometimes he's very picky. I mean, I think I have his strategy up in the last 3 months. Oops, I need to go to I have him up in the last 3 months. He's only taken 24 trades.
Okay.
But at an 83% win rate.
Damn, Warren.
Yeah. So
what I want to ask you about that is, it is always like a first break trade, or is it like a double break trade? Like, I guess what I'm asking is it trend continuation or like consolidation?
It's built for trend days is kind of how I built it. I want to see these big, long trend days. So I have it built into where he trails his stop. So I have toggles. I can change it. And so the only thing I want to get better or more efficient at isn't the back testing, because it's just real easy. It's the switching of the numbers around to see what's the best combo, because I've got so much in here now. So if you're too far away from VWAP, more than 10 points on ES, don't make the trade. To me, we're too far. I don't want to come back on it or anything. Right now I have it where it kind of auto picks how far away, if it's going to take the opening range low or 2 points below New York VWAP as an initial stop. When it hits 1R, the stop comes up to below VWAP and trails VWAP. When it hits 2R, it now trails by points. And now we're going. And then until you get wiped. And at 2.5R is when you kill the trade and you get out. Now, the way that I was doing it is because I'm trying to use this for props. So it's not necessarily how much money I make, it's how much drawdown it's going to get into.
Right.
I don't want it to have a lot of drawdown. So even if it says that it's made, even says that it's, made, $20,000 in the last 3 months, maybe that's not a lot for some, but to me, my drawdown with that is only $1,600 right now as it's back tested. So what I'm trying to do now, I can expand that. I can go 5 accounts with somebody. I haven't gone the Apex route, but if this still sticks with it, I'm like, why wouldn't I just go get 50 accounts? I don't know if they can back end. The great thing is Project X just allowed you to use bots with this API connection. So that's why I'm back with Top Step. And the main reason I'm with them is because there's no consistency rule. That's what I want, is that non-consistency. Now, I do have a couple top 1 futures I bought with that 55% off, only because it gave me a bunch of drawdown instantly, and I didn't have to worry about YOLO and combines for a while to get that 150K, because that drawdown's what, 9,000 or something like that. I wanted that drawdown to start playing with it. So as of right now, I'm payout eligible with the Top Step account. It's already above its $2,000. I'm just going to try to grow it as much as I can, and hopefully maybe pull a Tanner and just have it built up and just take out my 5K whenever I need and just kind of have Warren go. But I've learned my lessons. I have to keep working with it. He randomly took a trade at like 450 one day, and you're not allowed to do that. You can't trade after hours. So
Warren.
Yeah. So I was like, why'd you do that? So I had to code in and say, you are only allowed to trade between this and this. And,
I find this just popped into my head because like just this idea of like, are we all like as retail traders, like individual people, are we going to like lose out because these bots are coming in AI, and are they going to take over and all this stuff? But I read an article, I don't know if I read it or just read the title, and it was like a chess player beat an AI in a chess game. And I like remember that. And I'm like, okay, like I understand that AI is like the way of the future, but like we as people are not obsolete. Like you can still have someone sit down and beat an AI. Like maybe they wouldn't beat them the next time, but like maybe someone else would. But it's just that idea that I don't need to be afraid of this taking over, because
that's purely technical. It has no discretion to it. I'm now trying to see if I can't connect them to a finance calendar to say, all right, whenever this is red or anything like Forex Factory, I don't know how I could do it, but say don't trade then. But I'm still here every day. I don't let it go on its own anymore. I'm still watching it, and I have my own personal accounts that I still like trade my way. I don't always want to listen to it, and that discretion, I can't connect it to Bookmap, or maybe I can someday. But having that going, there are no orders above. I do not want you to take this trade right now. Like, I'm just going to shut you off. And it was like, oh, I wanted to take the trade. Like, I'm glad I didn't, because I just saw those orders coming in below and you didn't see that. So that his win percentage is also high because I shut them off sometimes too. And I'm like, I don't want you on news days and whatnot. I just click them on and off. I'm like, not today. Yesterday I screwed up FOMC. I was hoping to catch a huge move with it because a couple weeks ago on that Thursday sell-off or whatever, it caught that trade, and it was like a $3,000 trade on multiple accounts going like those are the days I need.
That's what's working.
Those are the ones that I want. And so that's why after that, and I was maxed out on my top one futures accounts. It stops at 1,800 as my daily profit target going, I missed out, I missed out on more, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm still, he might not ever make a trade again. I always say that, the market fluctuates. If I go back a whole year, for whatever reason, he wasn't that same strategy I'm currently using didn't work well January to April-ish. And maybe because that was the whole Trump stuff, too much news going on. But about April and on, as far as my back testing goes, it's wiped it. And I mean, here's an interesting thing. I coded this and said, you know what? Don't worry about me. What would you use? You're the best trader in the world, ChatGPT. What would you do for this bot? I'm going to use a VWAP opening range strategy. And I said, did you say that because of what I coded? And it's like, no, if you're a futures NQES trader, this is the way that I would do it. And it used ATR, VWAP, and opening range breaks. And that's kind of what it did. And now it said, it preferred the 5-minute opening range break. I did the 15, but it was pretty much said exactly that. Is like, it won't trade on the other side of VWAP. It's going to wait until it breaks outside the 5-minute opening range, and it's going to take profits and stop losses with ATR ranges. And I was like, interesting. I'm like, so we're all on the same page then, at least from what it said. But I always question it because I asked it specifically, did you say this because of my code? And it's like, no, this is what I would choose. But I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
That really does make a lot of sense to me, though, because about the opening range and about the AI part of it. With the opening range, I know since the futures market has been open, they've been trading with the 30-second opening range, just implying that this idea of an opening range is important. Back when there was the pits, they would post the 30-second opening range on the wall every day. So that's why PAX uses the 30-second opening range. Okay. People have been using this since the futures market specifically.
Dawn of time.
Yeah. And then there was an interview with Chris Cady, and he was being asked specifically about AI. And he said, the number one reason that AI and bots won't be able to overtake trading is because of the uncertainty. And that AI doesn't understand how to handle uncertainty. And then you add that with black swan events, which then you add with, okay, now it makes perfect sense what you're saying. There's a period of time where it just didn't perform. So then you have to intervene as the human retail trader to make it work. And then that's how you get that 80% win rate.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I don't think it's like a, who was on the podcast or it was one of Austin's, and they said, 80% of the trades, are our algos and options, really. But this to me is just it's a signal more or less. And it just sends a signal to top step and, top ones. And that's how I kind of use it, just based on kind of what we learned, One thing it did say, and interesting with you, Christine, is that it did say that overall NQ and ES, were mean reversion strategies as well. So it was also trying to play back. It was also trying to wasn't finding the top or bottom, but it was trying to figure out when it was dropping back to go back to VWAP as well. So it was throwing in reversion trades as well.
Okay,
so that, and I've heard Tanner, I've read that before too, talk about that it is, ES and NQ, that it wants to come back to VWAP. That's where people play around. It does. Yeah. So it tried to do that. I haven't gone into there with it, but when I tried the Chris Drysdale, when I say coding, ChatGPT 5, the new one is so good now. You just throw it in. I'll go over this offline with you guys if you like, but it's so easy. And that's why I tell, even for that signal for you guys, if you're like Lawrence or whatever, and he's got his check marks that before you take a trade, you can throw that into a signal. And then you decide if you want it or not. Rather, you see orders below, or that Microsoft's coming out with earnings and you don't want to be on NQ or NVIDIA, you can go there and say, checkbox 1 is we waited for the 15 minutes. Checkbox 2 is we're above VWAP, and checkbox 3, and one thing though that I thought was curious was, how we know Austin hates the initial 15-minute opening break.
I know for some reason.
Or the first break, I'm sorry. I back tested about every possible scenario I could on how many minutes outside before it comes in, how big and stuff outside, and it wanted the first break. All the back testing. Like I said, it's that combo, because I said how many candles needed to be outside, 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute, outside for X amount of time, inside for X amount of time. It has to come to VWAP first. And I tried that. Was like, as soon as it breaks out of the 15-minute, I want you to wait until it comes back to VWAP before you take it. And it wasn't a good win percentage.
It's such a devious thing, because the first break, in my opinion as well, I love the first break. I've been taking it since I started trading, and with Edgeful, it shows that on average, 62% of the time over the last 5 years, we double break the 15-minute opening range. But where that doesn't give any more context is what time.
Yeah.
Because then now going back to markets are mean reverting, auction market theory. Yeah, at the end of the day or something, it's going to break it. But the first break is that momentum that PAX is trading with the 30-second opening range. And the more you said something so interesting, which is it feels like I'm new every day when I show up. And that's so true. It really is like I'm new every day.
Yeah.
And I'm always thinking about the next thing. And I kind of lost my train of thought there, where I was going with that. But just that I quite enjoy the first break for short-term moves, which is what we're trying to do as day traders. I'm not trying to predict the whole day.
If you think about it, if the futures markets like ES and NQ are always kind of going back to VWAP at some point. If you choose to wait on getting your first break and you want to get the second break, well, sometimes those second breaks are actually just on their way back to VWAP, and then who knows what's happening from there. It could go up to your, keep going up to your next deviation, or have a new trend or whatever. So it's almost like I could see how that waiting for that second break actually does almost take you out of what you were just talking about, Thomas, the momentum of that first move.
Yeah, because you kind of lose it now. You're like, where are we going with it next? So I at least from everything that I've tried to back test, and even the using coding or ChatGPT to write it just for back testing purposes. I think I messaged you about it, Thomas. When you guys had Lawrence on the podcast and you asked, how do you back test? How do you physically do it? And he said, I'll start, 500 days ago and think about my strategy and go to the next day. Did it win? Did it not? And I'm thinking he's one of the best traders. I like him. I actually would like to have him as a coach for even more mental stuff. But I'm to me, that's so inefficient, especially with chat right now. You can easily just throw in that code and just watch it back test itself and make it.
I want
to. What about the person who says I'm discretionary? My entry signal is discretionary. What do you say?
You can, if you're a news or, your discretion, or I don't know if you want, I've always questioned, is bookmap discretionary or technical?
Could be both.
I don't know. It's I guess if you can read it, if I ask the guy who Austin's had that he's the expert and trades off of it, he'll be like, well, of course it's technical. Look what we're using. But sometimes I'm wondering if it's more discretionary, or these spoofers, bots, whatever they are. But if you use that as discretion, then sure, that if your entry is discretionary, that's fine. But why are there so many technical books? I guess, there's something about the technical side that you have to follow. So I use a little bit of both. I'm never going to have a feel for the market, what I feel it's going to do on news or anything. I mean, heck, how many times have we seen FOMC go completely opposite of what we thought, or earnings were great for some company and they go the other way? So if that's discretion going, man, if NVIDIA had, just blew out its earnings, I'm definitely going to short it. That's not discretion to me. You think the opposite way, but it still went down and you're going, well, I guess that discretion's out the window. So, I hear it, and those people who are saying that probably do better than me. So I can't really say much about it, but I use the technical side. So, and that's
well,
always,
I had a call with Traders Post today with the CEO of that company, just talking about the software, and he's got it set up now where he's got alerts on top of his alerts, conditions basically, so that even if he wants to take the trade, if it doesn't meet the criteria, it won't let him.
Yep.
Because he was finding himself even getting into trades, but it's below VWAP or above VWAP, and he's trying to short or long, whatever it is. And he has a rule now where I'm not going to be shorting above VWAP, nor will I be longing below it. And so he didn't realize until he put that condition in how many times he was just mentally getting to that trade and looking at it and trying to take the trade. But then luckily he had that condition in place, so it wouldn't let the alert actually trigger, which I found interesting. So it was like, and he's a very systematic, methodical guy. And I was just watching, he was walking me through how he's doing this now. And I was like, shit, I never looked at it like that. And this is the whole thing of a bot. You can tell the bot exactly what you want it to do, but remove that portion inside of your brain, that impulse. And you're like, should I not? Should I? This looks good.
Yeah. Get rid of that lizard brain and just let it tell you if you're going to take it, or that negative discretion or whatever you're not following your rules, and going against the grain. Even for a signal, it'll give me a signal. Here on NQ, it gave me that signal when it went above. There were 2 3-minute closes this morning when that rocket up. I caught some of that move in my regular trading account. See, it wouldn't have taken that, but I saw this move coming up and I got in real quick. And NQ, it moves quick. That's what I've really learned. So you got to get in and out. So I took it to the top of the opening range, and I'm up, $1,000 across my account. So, but it has a signal there, but he didn't take it. And I can go back and look, and why? It's because of that efficiency ratio. It moved down and up too quick that it didn't want it. And you can click these options on and off and it'll pop the trade in and out. So I kind of know, what rule did you not like in this trade and why you didn't take it? And then even there were days where I went, God, why did you not take that? This is pretty obvious. Why didn't you? And there's some rule in there I didn't like. I can go back to the drawing board at least. So, there will always need to be a need for a human. I just don't believe in that. The discretion, I guess emotional, the market's emotional, right? Yeah. How are you going to be able to tell it that when Trump's going to take a tweet, to get out of the market, I don't even know if financial juice is quick enough to be able to get to that level. So, all I could say is that discretion is me going, oh no, Trump's coming online, or Trump's about to make a briefing. Just shut it off.
Turn Warren off.
Yeah, Warren, you sit down for a second. This is about to get crazy. Yeah,
Warren should just be constantly scanning for anything Trump related. And
I haven't talked to anybody else about this. And if somebody watches this podcast and hearing me talk about this bot, they'll probably be like, this guy's what an old man. He should be having it hooked up to this and this and this and this. So I haven't talked to anybody about it. I'm doing this on my own, but I'm sure there's better ways. There is a trading group here in town that gets together, and I met with them.
Cool.
The only thing that's different with them is none of them. A guy knew what a prop firm was, but SMB Capital and T3 and stuff, he didn't know anything about what I was talking about. But listening to them talk, it's a whole different environment. You didn't hear about this. I just blew this account because who cares? I have a couple $100 left to draw down, or I got these accounts on sale, and ESS rules and consistency. It wasn't even part of the combo. They were technicals, really diving in deep on these companies I've never heard of. They're stock traders that are looking at all these companies I've never heard of. Oh, did you hear about this? And I'm pulling it up on TradingView like, whoa, but one thing I also notice is I always have VWAP on everything, and it respects so much. Every little company they talk about, my ASFX automatic VWAPs are popping up and on going, damn, it was really respecting the high a day VWAP today or whatever it was, going, man, this is interesting. But anyways, just hearing them kind of talk, not to say that they're any better or different. It was just not used to what I'm listening to in every morning, you know, in ASFX or even in our Black Shirt Club and stuff for prop traders. And it's just a different way. And I'll probably get there soon. I think I'm ready for a personal account.
Yeah.
It really just, some of the props turn me off now. These consistency rules getting smaller. And my opinion, I'm sitting here, I read Tom Hugard's book once. Now I'm listening to it, which I recommend listening over reading it. I don't know why, it's just clicking for me a little better. But I'm sitting there listening to this guy talk about how he gets more upset if he doesn't take that full trade as opposed to losing a trade.
Yeah.
And I'm in here, you know, and don't get me wrong, props have been awesome. And I'm very thankful for them going, oops, I got this little bit out of the 15-minute opening range. I got my $600 in my 50K account, got to lock it up for the day. And it's going, and it's going, and it's going by. Like, I'll just, you know, so those big days when you really got to capitalize and build up that account, I want to try to get those days. I've been really bad about getting out early. So that's why this bot has helped. And even in my personal accounts, they're my ones that I'm trading, I'm starting to, the bot's making me click myself going, I'm not even going to touch this thing. We're not outside the 15-minute opening range. And then I'm not touching this thing. It hasn't hit 1R yet. My VWAP hasn't even moved. So why would I even get out of this yet? You know, so it's making me aware a little bit more too, and making me, it hurts. That whole book of him talking about you have to fight through the pain. And it is a fight through the pain for me with my, like, oh my God, $800, seeing that $800 across a few accounts, like, just hit the button. This is more than you make in a day at work. Like, just hit the button. Like, nope. And that's been tough for me, because those days where it loses and you go, why did you not? You should have taken it. Why didn't you? And that's the game. That's the name of the game, I guess. Yeah.
It's funny. When we went to the event in LA, someone asked Tom what he thought about prop firms. And he said, like, words out of his mouth that he thinks they're a fool's errand.
Okay.
And he said, he's like, if you are set on it, then I would trade this strategy. And he called it his fishing strategy. And I don't know what it is exactly, but all I can assume is it's a more range based strategy versus what he does in his trading, which is to catch the big moves. It just doesn't work for prop firms. Like, if you're a diehard Tom Hugard fan, like, it's not going to work for prop firms. It's just not, because most of them are set up. Maybe with Top Step you could get away with it, but most of them are not set up for that type of trading.
Totally.
I would just like to add, like, I feel like I've had my own little falling out with prop firms and whatever, but at the end of the day, it's, you found success with it, however you did, and it's important that, like, you ride that wave until it's over, because at some point you might not find success with it anymore, and then it's like, okay, now I'm gonna make the pivot. But for me, it was like, I found some success, but like not enough to keep going with it. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make the pivot. But not that props are bad, they're just different. I liken it to poker, playing a cash game versus a tournament. When you're playing a tournament, and you just got to know what game you're playing.
Yeah, I mean, and where I'm at in my career, I think of it as tuition. I think of it as buying books at school. I mean, that's how I'm learning. And, you know, I didn't just go in and, you know, try out some job and get fired from it because, you know, I wanted to be in it. You know, just like you go to college, I am super big, and I totally understand. It's kind of hard for me to get mad most days. I'm like, I'm still trying this, you know. I've been to school. I've been this whole academia my whole life, and this scientific side of everything and how long it takes. And you got to do this journey. You know, this is not a short term. This is a career, you know, and you got to treat it as such. But that's why I think props are really great as far as that low entry barrier, right? The other day, while, you know, I've got to sit here watching $1,000, you know, in drawdown, sitting there going, that's, you know, that's not $1,000. I paid $200. You know, so you really have to think about that. You know, you also can't go, I'll add in because I'm down. Maybe it'll come back up. You got to stop doing that too, you know? So it definitely teaches you a little bit of bad habits, I think. But if you can overcome that and just trade it like you're really trading it, then I don't see why you wouldn't want to use props for the beginning, or at least for a learning experience for me. I get the whole copy trading, smaller wins, you know, times X amount. But I think you had somebody on, I watched one of your last podcasts, and I loved his thing going, you sign a 1099, you have a boss, you are working for somebody.
That was Blue.
And I was like, I agree with that. And I am in that rebellious phase I've always had. I'm going, I don't want no boss, especially if I'm doing this. And even though nobody's going to call me up and tell me I got a meeting next week or something with them, it's just that idea of like, I'm making you money too. You know, you still get 10% of whatever I make. Every time I take a $5,000 payout, you're taking $500 off that. So, you know, and so that's kind of how I think of it as well. But at the same time, thank you for making me not really lose that $1,000 today. And it was really just $200. So, you know, and that's it's tuition. It's great. I think it's a good learning thing. And you get skin in the game. You have skin in the game, right? But one thing I'll say to anybody who watches this that's new, you have to keep track of your spending and your making. I use Monarch Money. It's an app. And so everything I have is synced up. Every time TradingView money comes out, ASFX every month, that I have it all to trading. Every time it pops up and it sees the top 1 futures, it automatically goes to trading, top step trading, whatever. And at the end of the month, I can see. And then I also, my Rise and Wise accounts that come and bring in money, I have those hooked up to trading because it's the only in and out that comes in from that place is for trading. And I can see where I'm at. You know, it's a business. You've got cost of goods, you know, and you have profitability. And this is my cost of goods. And I need to see where I'm at. And, you know, and I'll say I'm like right at that over these years. I'm back to that using payouts from prop firms. I'm like right here now. So it is time to hopefully get back to pure profitability, almost at a break even, because Black Shirt Club memberships, TradingView, Take Profit, or what's the not Take Profit, the Traders Post. I pay for Traders Post now every month, you know, because that's what does the bot. That's my bot talking. Nice. So every single one of those that comes in, I gotta, you know, I don't pay for Bookmap yet. I probably should. I still use the YouTube version, and I'm thankful for Randy and Austin watching on theirs in the mornings too. But that'll have to be a cost someday that's going to come out too. But those are all, that's part of your business, right?
Is it worth signing up for the year for Monarch, Troy, in your opinion?
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I mean, all my investments
for the year.
I'm
looking for something
like this. You have it?
Yeah. I've been using it. We just renewed. We use it for all of our budgeting. We've been budgeting through Monarch, and that's actually great. I will, now that I'm not trading props, I don't need to put the money in there anymore, but like that would be a great way. Yeah, Monarch, and the first year, if you sign up, it's 50% off. 40%.
Yeah,
and
that's what it's.
That's everything. My wife and I use it too. Anytime like a restaurant pops up, you can put restaurant in there, but you can give it a rule. You know, every time Top Step or whatever comes out of it, it's a rule goes to trading. So at the end of the month, you just go to category. How much should I spend? So all my trading, everything I have in trading is hooked up to that as well. But even your investments, I think it's great. All my 401 IRAs, all my, you know, brokerage accounts that I have, it all goes in there so I can see where it's all kind of going. So that's what I use. Rather use an Excel sheet for free. I just really want to emphasize that because it's hard to have a business, especially if you're wanting to quit a job or really utilize this. I'm fortunate I have an 8 to 5 that not yet, but there will be a time period. This is a business that you're going to run, and you're going to have to keep track of that stuff and taxes, you know, don't forget that. Don't get a $5,000 payout and go blow it. You better take I think 40% of that and put it back. That's what you do. Yeah.
I think when you're learning to trade, you get lost in like the cost of things and subscriptions and before this and this. And, you know, fortunately for me, it's like, you know, I have X amount of dollars to spend every month and I know what is in the bigger picture going in and out, but it's like, I would love to know now exact breakdown of combines, evals, you know, my software and everything. Because some things I just pay for the year, some things are monthly, some things are 3 months. Like I'll see wherever the deal is. So it's definitely, I think this was a great point just to touch on is when you're on this journey of learning to trade to actually be even more professional about it and be logging all this stuff. Because honestly, I had a spreadsheet, but that's just one more thing I had to do. And there were days where I would, you know, have a tilt day or blow up and I don't want to do anything related to thinking about money or anything. Right. So super cool. I'm going to definitely sign up for this app.
Yeah, no, it's helped me. You know, it was also eye-opening when I went, holy shit, how many accounts did I buy this month? Like, oh my God, what are you doing? You know, the straight to funded thing, I went when those straight to fundeds first came out, I went down a little rabbit hole on those, treating them like combines, and realized you need to back up. You know, when you spend a couple grand a month on, you know, you went through 10 straight to fundeds, like, dude, that is $2,500 that you blasted through because you were just thinking it was a combine. Like, why? Because when I get an XFA, I think it's like real money. I passed this combine. I'm like into it, and straight to funded. It's a mental just, oops, I'm out. There was a day that I think I blew one in a day and bought another one, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, I was at a zero, brand new account, 50K, blew it on a one big trade and went, shit, I'm buying another one because I think it's going to go back up, and pretty much lost that one. And then I had to go look in the mirror for a second, like, dude, what are you, like, you have got to back up, you know? And I went down that. So, and that's kind of why I kind of like the combines a little bit too. It makes it a little more personable. I've actually been there going, I should take this trade. No, I'm not wasting 3 more days or a week to get back in a combine. Just, you're done for the day. Just stop. But it's a prop firm. So I was like, maybe I could just, it's okay. I'll just buy another one. But there was a little bit in the back of my mind that said, you're going to have to go through a combine again if you want to do this. And you really don't want this consistency rule. So you better just be done for the day, you know?
This is where I think building a bot to like help you with these things. Like have your strategy and just keep you, it's like, it's just having the guardrails up, right? Now the guardrails have got even tighter. So now you're really staying in your lane versus just swerving into the oncoming traffic for a moment, coming back in because you're
and just like what we said last week of like, you can only expect your worst performance, guardrails, worst performance. Like, how can you set yourself up for the easiest path to success? Easiest path to success.
And that, you know, and it's all we hear is like these systems and like having Tanner and Lawrence in them, you know, and I know sometimes we have people in our group, they trade against the VWAP or they go against it and stuff, and it's not systematic and you lose on some of those. And so this, to me, it's really helped me slow down even more, because now I'd say September-ish, I took a couple payouts at the end of August, and I started getting a little cocky in September, trading before the 15-minute opening range was even set, just trying to catch these fast moves. I got cocky, blew those accounts that I took a payout on, and was like, all right, you never traded before the 15-minute. I used to be able to just sit there and like, we'll hang out until, unless you see something really great, and you had to take a step back, like, Troy, what are you doing? Like, Evan would yell at you. No, he wouldn't yell at you, but it's having that going to Evan, and it's in the back of my mind of him going, why'd you do that? You know, and so and it's having that mentorship and going, oh man, I got a meeting tomorrow with Evan. Oh God, why did I even take this trade? I have to show him that I did this. Long, short, long, short, long, short. What are you doing? Like, I know, man. So I still have that in the back of my head. Yeah. But it's working. Yeah. And we can get off this if you have time whenever. I'll screen share with you and just show you how easy this is to do this. You know, it is not hard at all. You know, even for the signal, if you're a true systematic trader, even setting up that signal, you don't have to connect it to any actual account. It's just until that little, for me, it's a blue symbol shows up, you're not even going to think about taking that trade. You know,
we'll have to do a repeat episode on on like later on how if we all took a dive into this subject. And
I just started this whole bot, it was just a couple months ago whenever I just started going down this little rabbit hole. And that's what I did initially want it for, was the back testing, because I didn't know how to back test very well without going back and writing it down, and I'm a data science heavy person, in my job, I have very, data analytics and stuff is very heavy. So I'm very anal about data analysis, and I quit throwing most of my stuff in TradeZilla right now with prop, because how you gonna show me your R trades whenever you just had a tilt day and the account got blown and you didn't get to add those back in, So all these accounts that I've had, even though they were doing good and then they got blown and they're not in that tilt, I need that tilt day to be in there to show me what I was doing wrong. I want that data in there. So I don't do my daily report cards as much anymore. I handwrite. I've got a whole little notebook here that I just, in my head, when I'm in a trade, just scribble, all right, I'm in this, and you guys have seen my markups. I put a pretty big markup in my chart. That's just personally, I don't think you should do it that way. You should journal. Anybody listening, get a journal and journal some way, shape, or form. But for me, if you're a prop firm trader and you're blowing accounts, the statistics, I don't want to see anybody's, look what I did this last month, and just circle a couple days where you blown accounts and go, look, I'm a 3R trader, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what about those days? So that data in there, you've just null and voided all your statistics. So for me, it's a pet peeve of mine. And so that's why I don't TradeZilla. I think it's one of the best journaling platforms, but the statistics of my trades are really hard for me to back test. So that's what got me down this bot path anyways, was, all right, let's show me what trades really work in an efficient time.
That's so cool.
Dang.
Super cool.
This is
We didn't even get into talking about trading and traveling. We'll have to do that for another episode.
And I want to learn that as well. Yeah, with this,
We're at an hour.
Say what?
We're at an hour. This is like, but we could go on and on.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Put it into two.
We'll have to do another episode in a little bit, in a couple months or something.
No, absolutely. Yeah, we'll see how Warren's been behaving for that. But
Yeah.
I know I also lose out on a lot of days because I do keep him off just because it's a news day or something I miss out on. So I'm still trying to get to that level because he did blow a couple accounts and I was like, man, like that really upsets me because I probably wouldn't have taken those trades that you took and you did. So let's back off a little bit. So, but I've recoded him. He's getting better now. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Interesting.
Cool.
Well, let's wrap it up. We'll put a pin in it here. Cool deal. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, thank you guys for this. No, your guys' podcast is great. I've watched all of them. I like we're normal people. That's one thing when I first met these other traders too. You know, you see these mentors and these gurus out there and you go like, whoa, these are like Hollywood actors. And then you meet them. I don't know. Yeah, it's very weird. The trading is weird. I don't have offices next to me with people I can go talk to about it or anything. I can't just, hey, let's go stand by the, coffee machine and talk a little bit. So it's definitely different. So that's why the Black Shirt Club, I'll probably be a lifer for there. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Nice.
Thank you so much.
Thank